thank you everyone for being here. It's fantastic to see so many people in the seats and full audience today, so this is really exciting. So my presentation is really about how we're working together to make this happen, and as you've really heard today, of all the different efforts that have been going on the canal. So that's not it. Okay. So the first one here is I just kind of want to put into perspective all the different efforts that have been going on over the years. And really, it started really with our municipalities. At the time the canal was decommissioned, a lot of our municipalities had the foresight to see that by putting the Morris Canal in their open space plan, they really realized that it could be a connection and that it was an opportunity. And so a number of the municipalities had identified the Morris Canal as open space in their master plans, and a number of our counties have done the same. Also, our grassroots organizations. We've heard from the Canal Society. Morris County is very fortunate to have the Canal Society have such a great presence within this county. In other places where the nonprofits are maybe less active or less dominant, we have counties like Warren County. Very strong action there. In the 80s, they established the Warren County Morris Canal Committee. It's comprised of volunteers, and they've been working very tirelessly to preserve their canal resources, and realizing that they want to get their county or their municipalities involved, they established a sample ordinance, and a number of their towns have taken up that ordinance and adopted it. And individuals, Bob already mentioned the Lees, and I want to give another mention of the Lee family. The Lee family in Warren County has been integral. They have bought lock-tender homes, they have dug out and excavated the tail race and the various resources of it, and preserved it, made it into a public museum, and there's just so many folks that have been doing a lot, and a lot of it is individual efforts, and because the canal is so long, it's hard to know what each other is doing, and so now we have the benefit of the NJTPA and a regional agency to really get involved and get everybody on the same page of what's been going on. So this slide is important. It explains the NJTPA's region. And what's really important here is how the Morris Canal fills and fits perfectly within the NJTPA's region. And the underlined, we call them subregions in the NJTPA land, are our counties and our two major cities. And what's important on this slide to recognize is that the Morris Canal's corridor represents more than half of our membership. So we have a real interest here in seeing this through to completion. And as our executive director, Mary Kay Murphy, pointed out in her opening remarks, we had 3 of our subregions, 2 counties, and one of our major cities, Jersey City, come to us around the same time, and really demonstrated that there's a regional need for the Morris Canal and for a greenway. And all 3 of these came to us for funding, and they all had the same thought. We would like to put a greenway on the Morris Canal. And what's also important here is Jersey City, Passaic County, and Warren County, the length that's contained within these 3 regions represents almost 70 miles of the canal. That's 70% of the canal came to us. So, hey, let's fill in the other 30%. That shouldn't be so hard, right? Okay, so really here's what the NJTPA is bringing to the table, is we're kind of, linking together these individual efforts and getting everybody aware of what has been going on. What can we learn from each other? What are these opportunities out there? What issues have you had? And how has maybe somebody else been able to advance it a little bit further? Also, just to bring this forum together, we spent just as much time in the early days of our working group being formed, getting to know what each other is doing and educating each other about what has been going on. and to just kind of grow this statewide identity. And then finally, I'll talk about this more further in another slide about how to identify needs and how putting together a corridor study will help identify those needs. So this is really great. So this is a slide showing all of our stakeholders. But what's really important about this slide is this picture. This is this room in July. This is our membership at our second meeting. We are filling every seat in July when they say, don't hold a meeting in the summer. Nobody will be there. Everybody's on vacation. No. And I say, no, it's fine. It's no problem. And this is our second meeting. And most of the people that are at this table are probably, 50 people there. I would say 20 of those seats are new membership. So that's important. So one of our activities as a working group in our only 2 years of existence is we got together and we formed a vision statement. And it's involved, so you'll find the whole vision statement in your packet, but really what I wanted to highlight here is the things that we tried to do with our vision statement. Because like so many of our speakers today have said, there's a lot of different interests and different ways that you can become interested and associated with the Morris Canal. And so those interests really, we want to talk about how to connect and link communities and tell a story and, talk about its uniqueness and its engineering. And finally, the Morris Canal, 100 miles, it goes through our most urbanized areas to our most rural lands. And so it means different things in different areas. And so when we're talking about a greenway, it also not only has to be for recreation, but it also is an active transportation corridor. This is how it works. You have to be sure that when you establish your vision that you're really linking to other regional plans. And the more you can link to other plans, the more it establishes yourself for more funding opportunities. And so we really, we're sure to look at that. And there's a lot of regional plans out there. NJTPA does a long-range plan. This one is Plan 2040, and it really determines the capital investment for transportation dollars. So it's very important to link to many different types of plans. And with all the different interests out there, we're fortunate because it allows us to also think about many different options for funding. We're not just tied to transportation funds. It also links to the draft final state strategic plan. And in particular, there's a goal that talks about preservation of cultural resources. So that's really important. So the goal that we have established is really following on the footsteps of the goal that Jersey City established, is to connect to the greatest extent possible, realizing there's different things that make it infeasible or impossible to stay fully within the former Morris Canal right away, but to link it to the greatest extent possible to create a public greenway. Okay. So let's get to talking about what our working group has been doing. There's a lot of activity that we've been doing in only 2 short years. We've held over 10 meetings since this time. We have our full membership meetings. We have developed an executive team to kind of help pick up where if we can't meet all the time. We've established a number of subcommittee meetings for the conference planning, for data and information collection, or GIS kind of mapping capabilities. And then we have one that's solely on events and marketing. And like I said, 100 miles is a long distance. So really, a lot of our initial meetings were geared towards educating each other and getting each other familiar with the work that had been going on out there, all those individual efforts or those county efforts or those efforts that started to be a little bit regional, but not everybody is aware of each other's actions. And just to, network each other around. So another one of, we've done so much. So one of the products that we've already completed and has, will grow over time is we established the MorrisCanalGreenway.org website. And this is really kind of a portal for everything that everybody in our stakeholder group has done. And it, links to our stakeholder studies. It shows our membership. It has meeting minutes from every meeting we've had. And it has a great opportunity to grow further from there. Also, we've just been trying to work as many different outlets as we have. So if you're not familiar, New Jersey has turned 350 years old this year. And since it was colonized, because there's questions, I understand, how that could be 350 years old. So one of the things is we worked with the state, and I'm serving on their planning committee to help, network and get some ideas about when does it make sense to hold this conference, and how can we get other folks involved that are not maybe traditionally represented here. And it's also an opportunity for advertising to get your events out there. Also, we have presented at numerous conferences. We had a panel this year at the New Jersey Bike Walk Summit. And so this conference is really geared towards the grassroots efforts. It's held on a weekend. We had Joe McKasick speak from the Canal Society about the history of the Morris Canal. We had Elizabeth Roy from Warren County speak about their efforts, and Jason Simmons, who you heard today, speak about Passaic County's efforts, and I spoke as well. And also, for those of you that are in the transportation field, we'll be having a panel this year at the statewide transportation conference, Transaction. We'll have Jerry Schaffenberger from the Office for Planning Advocacy speaking about the economic development potential. And if each of you, everyone noticed before you sat down, there was a paper on your seat, and it's an article that we've worked really hard on to get distributed with the New Jersey League of Municipalities quarterly newsletter. And if you look at the last page of the article, this is really where you'll see these numbers jump out at you in terms of what this greenway could mean to your locale and what it could mean to New Jersey. In the article it says, from a study from the New Jersey Historic Trust, $2.6 billion can be attributed directly to heritage tourism. That's billion. And then it goes on to talk about the tax revenue and the local tax revenue that comes from a project just of this nature. Also, important facts that hopefully will jump out to you when you read the article is that from a study, more than around 50-50, so around 50% of the people that are coming to these historic sites and coming to New Jersey are coming locally or coming from a distance of more than 50 miles away. So that's great. That means people need to stay in hotels. That means that's a revenue coming to your area. And then finally, this is really significant. NJTPA has approved funding for a Morris Canal Greenway corridor study. So this corridor study will be kicking off later this year, and it will be led by me, and be working with our stakeholders on it. And it's really, the study is something to kind of figure out, well, there's a lot of work that has been done on the Morris Canal, but what's missing? We really want to do a gap analysis and figure out, where are the parts of the canal that maybe are in, in jeopardy, or that could be acquired or that could be, have a potential for a connection point, or, we're kind of open to all opportunities. So that's what that study's kind of going to go into. But also, I would like your feedback, on what you think should be part of that study. If there's a need that we are not talking about, but that needs to be out there, let us know, and then we can try to incorporate that with the study. Okay, and so finally, how can you get involved? It's fantastic that you're here filling these seats today, but we don't want you to just come here and then leave and then that be the end of the day. Today is really a kickoff of our next steps. And so how you can get involved is you can join the Morris Canal Working Group. You can help really with our data collection efforts on the corridor study. And also, we have a good amount of municipalities here today, but like I said in my first slide, it's really our municipalities are, a lot of who's going to help implement this Morris Canal Greenway. And so we need to get out to them and get them aware of what's going on here today. And so we will be organizing further municipal outreach meetings, and they'll be by county. And those will occur in May and June. So, if you can come to some of those or help us reach out to our municipalities and get them involved, that would be a great help. And so that's really all I wanted to go through today. So thank you very much.